I'm typing this out on my phone, so formatting might be a bit messy. So I, female, 22, gave my sister's boyfriend a house key, and now she's acting like I committed some horrible betrayal. Am I the idiot for trying to help someone who was literally freezing on our porch? Okay, so some background. My sister, let's call her Emma, female, 25, has been with her boyfriend Jake, male, 27, for about 2 years now. He's been hanging around our house more and more lately, always with some excuse about his apartment having heating issues or plumbing problems, or just stopping by to see Emma real quick. Like literally every other day, there's some new reason why he can't be at his own place. I've always been the one in our family who tries to help everyone out, you know. My parents always say I'm thoughtful and considerate, and honestly, I guess I like being needed. It makes me feel useful when people rely on me. But lately, there's been this weird situation about Jake always being around. My dad keeps making these passive comments about the electric bill being higher and how we're going through groceries faster, but he won't just say anything direct about it. And my mom texts me and Emma every morning, but Emma has been not responding more and more, which makes mom freak out and text me asking if I've heard from her. Emma gets super defensive anytime anyone even slightly questions why Jake is always here. Like if my dad asks, "Oh, is Jake staying for dinner again?" She'll snap about how our family isn't welcoming to her relationship and we're being judgmental. It's honestly exhausting. So anyway, last Thursday I get home from campus around 9 p.m. I'm expecting the house to be empty since my parents were at some work thing, and Emma said she'd be studying late at the library. But when I pull into the driveway, there's Jake sitting on our front porch looking absolutely miserable. I ask him what's wrong, and he says Emma got called into some emergency work meeting and his phone died, so he couldn't reach her or get an Uber back to his place. He's been sitting there for like an hour, and it was freezing that night. I felt so bad for him, like who wants to be stuck outside in the cold because of bad timing? My parents gave me a spare key when I started college for emergencies, so I'm looking at this guy who's clearly freezing, and I just handed it over. I told him, "Here, just let yourself in next time, instead of waiting outside like this." It seemed like the nice thing to do, you know. Well, apparently that was a huge mistake. 5 days later, yesterday, I come home from my afternoon classes expecting the house to be empty. But I walk into the living room and there's Jake sprawled across our couch in boxers and a tank top, eating cereal straight from the box while watching some loud action movie, like he was completely at home. I ask where Emma is and he just casually goes, "Oh, she's still at work for another couple hours, but I got bored waiting around my place." Not like he needed to be here or had any reason to be here. He literally came to our house because he was bored at his own apartment. That's when it hit me that I basically gave this guy free access to treat our house like his personal entertainment center. So last night at dinner, I mentioned to Emma that I gave Jake a key so he wouldn't have to wait outside anymore, thinking she'd appreciate that I helped her boyfriend out. Wrong. She completely lost her shit. She starts screaming about how I went behind her back and was messing with her relationship. She demanded I ask for the key back right now. But here's the thing. When I tried to explain that Jake had been using it to just hang out here when she wasn't even home, she refused to talk about that part. Instead, she just kept accusing me of trying to control who she dates and interfere with where her boyfriend spends his time. Like, what? I wasn't trying to control anything. I was trying to be nice to someone who seemed stuck in a bad situation, but she made it sound like I was some kind of manipulative monster. She wouldn't listen to any of my concerns about boundaries or respect. Every time I brought up him lounging around in his underwear, eating our food when she wasn't home, she'd just redirect back to how I betrayed her trust by giving him the key without asking first. The whole thing ended with her storming off to her room and texting me later that I don't understand her relationship and need to stay in my lane. I'm so confused right now. I thought I was being helpful and considerate like I always try to be, but now Emma is acting like I committed some unforgivable sin, and I'm wondering if I missed something obvious here. My parents haven't said anything about it yet, but I can tell they're not thrilled about the whole situation either. My dad just keeps giving these long sighs whenever Jake's name comes up, and my mom has that worried look she gets when she thinks there's family problems brewing. I guess what's really bothering me is that Emma seems more upset about me giving him the key than she is about him using our house as his personal hangout spot when she's not even there. Like, shouldn't that be the bigger issue? Am I the idiot for giving my sister's boyfriend a house key without asking her first? I genuinely thought I was helping, but maybe I overstepped some boundary I didn't know about. Information to add. Since people are asking, no, Jake doesn't contribute anything to household expenses, even though he's here constantly. My dad hasn't said anything directly yet, but I can see he's getting more frustrated each day Jake shows up. Now for the first update. After our huge fight about the key last night, Emma had been avoiding me all day. I thought we'd need weeks to get past this, but then I discovered something at work that changed everything. You were all right about there being way more to this story than just the key thing. I found out why my sister has been acting so insane, and honestly, I feel terrible for her, but also kind of angry that she's been lying to everyone for months. So I work part-time at this coffee shop on campus. Yesterday, I was working the afternoon shift, and this girl comes in who looked super familiar. I'm trying to figure out where I know her from when it hits me. She's in Emma's graduate program. I've seen her at a couple family events where Emma brought classmates. I don't normally get involved in Emma's school stuff, but she's been so stressed and weird lately that I thought maybe I could get some insight into what's going on. So when the girl, let's call her Sarah, orders her coffee, I ask if she's in the education program with my sister Emma. Sarah gets this confused look and tells me she hasn't seen Emma in forever, and that Emma's been missing from most of their main seminars this semester. I'm standing there holding her latte thinking what the hell, because Emma leaves every Tuesday and Thursday telling us she has those exact seminars. Like, she makes this big production about how she can't do family dinner on Thursdays because of her seminar commitments and needs to prepare for intensive discussions. I played it off like I knew what Sarah was talking about, but inside I'm freaking out. Where the hell has Emma been going twice a week, if not to her seminars? So, I get home around 6, and I'm already feeling weird about the whole thing. I walk into the kitchen to grab some water, and there's this pile of mail on the counter. I'd seen Emma quickly shuffle through mail before, but now that I was already suspicious about how she's been acting, I looked closer, and there's like 5 or 6 letters addressed to Emma from the university, with urgent and immediate response required stamped all over them. Some of them look like they've been sitting there for weeks. Emma comes downstairs right when I'm staring at the letters, great timing, and I just blurt out that I ran into Sarah at work, and she mentioned Emma hasn't been in seminars. I tried to say it casual, but probably sounded accusatory. Emma went completely pale, like she went from normal to ghost white in 2 seconds. Then she just broke, started crying these awful sobbing tears, and couldn't even talk for like 5 minutes. I felt so bad because I clearly hit some massive nerve, but also, what the hell has been going on? When she finally calmed down enough to speak, the whole story came out. She's been on academic probation since last semester. Her teaching practicum went terribly. Apparently, she's just not good at managing classrooms. Her thesis advisor thinks her research is unfocused and poorly executed, and she's probably going to get kicked out of the program entirely. But here's what really got me. She lost her teaching assistant position months ago because of her performance issues, which means she has basically no income. But she's been pretending to our parents that everything is fine because Dad has been tracking every penny he spent on her education in these detailed spreadsheets, which we all know about even though he doesn't show them to us, and she's terrified of disappointing him. She's been having panic attacks for months, like full-on can't breathe, thinks she's dying panic attacks. And guess who's been the main person helping her through them? Jake. That's when everything clicked about why she went ballistic over the key situation, and why she'd been so frantic last night, demanding I get it back immediately. She was terrified that me giving him a key would somehow mess up their relationship dynamic, or make him feel weird about being at our house, especially when she needed him most during her panic attacks. Which honestly makes me feel bad about how I handled that whole thing. But also, she could have just told me what was going on, instead of screaming at me like I was trying to ruin her life. She also admitted that she's been lying about where she goes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sometimes she just drives around for hours because she can't face going to campus. Sometimes she sits in the library, but not doing anything productive, just trying to work up the courage to email her professors or open those letters from the university. The worst part is she's been skipping family dinners because she feels like such a failure that she can't stand being around us acting normal when her whole life is falling apart. Mom has definitely noticed, but keeps asking me if Emma seems okay instead of just asking Emma directly. Classic mom move to avoid confrontation. I don't even know what to do with all this information. Part of me wants to tell our parents because they're going to find out eventually and maybe they can help. But Emma made me promise not to say anything because she's working on a plan to fix everything. The thing is, Dad's whole support system comes with these unspoken expectations that you better not screw up. He never says it directly, but we all know he's keeping track of his investment in our education and expects results. Emma's completely terrified of disappointing him, which I get, but lying about it is just making everything worse. I'm also realizing that all those times she's been defensive about Jake might have been because she's been relying on him way more than any of us knew. Like if he's her main emotional support during panic attacks and the only person who knows how badly she's struggling, no wonder she freaked out when she thought I was interfering with their relationship. But I'm also kind of pissed that she's been letting all of us worry about her weird actions for months instead of just being honest about what's happening. And now I'm stuck knowing this huge secret that affects our whole family. I have no idea what's going to happen when those university letters finally catch up with her, or when Dad does his usual "how's school going" check-ins. This is so much messier than I thought, and I honestly don't know if I should have pushed her to talk about it or just minded my own business. Edit. 1. Since people are asking, no, I haven't told my parents yet, but I'm really struggling with keeping this secret from them. 2. To those saying she needs professional help for the panic attacks, I completely agree, but she's convinced she can't afford therapy right now. 3. Yes, the university letters are still sitting on the counter unopened, and it's driving me crazy watching her ignore them. 4. For everyone asking about the teaching job, she told our parents she decided to focus more on her thesis instead of admitting she got let go. 5. The Tuesday-Thursday thing has been going on for like 2 months, and I had absolutely no idea she was just driving around instead of going to class. Now for the second update. Sorry for the delay. Things have been absolutely insane, and I honestly didn't know if I should even post this update because it's so much worse than anyone predicted. You were all completely right about there being way more going on here than just the key situation. Like, so much more. I thought Emma's academic problems were the biggest secret, but apparently that was just the beginning, and now everything has completely exploded. So last Tuesday, our washing machine upstairs suddenly died, just completely gave out in the middle of a load and started making this awful grinding noise. My mom was doing laundry for some family wedding she's going to this weekend and had all these nice clothes that needed to be rewashed. She remembered we have that backup washer in the basement that we basically never use. It came with the house when we bought it like 10 years ago, and it's ancient but still works. So Mom goes down to use it and... Guys! I cannot even describe what she found. She calls up the stairs for me and Dad to come down immediately, and her voice sounded so weird and shaky. When we get down there, Mom is just standing in the middle of what used to be our storage basement, staring at everything with this look of complete shock. The entire space had been turned into like a whole apartment. There were clothes hanging everywhere. Not just a few items, but like an entire wardrobe spread across multiple areas. A full gaming setup with this massive TV and expensive-looking console and computer that definitely weren't there before. A mini fridge, where the hell did that come from? Empty food containers and takeout boxes stacked in corners. A whole sleeping area with blankets and pillows. But the worst part, and I'm honestly still processing this, there were multiple bottles of piss hidden around the room. Multiple. Like this guy had been living down there so long, he didn't even want to come upstairs to use our bathroom. My dad just stood there for like 5 full minutes, not saying anything. I could see him calculating in his head all the utilities, all the food, all the wear on the house. He gets this look when he's doing math and trying to stay calm, and I knew he was absolutely losing it inside. Mom kept saying, how long has this been going on, and when did all this stuff get here? But like, we all knew. We just didn't want to admit what we were seeing. It was obvious this had been happening gradually over months, maybe even over a year. Emma later admitted she'd been helping cover for him by doing his laundry upstairs and bringing food down, claiming she was just helping him store some things temporarily. The confrontation with Emma was awful. When she got home that night, Mom and Dad were waiting in the living room with these grim expressions, and I just knew someone was about to get their ass handed to them. They asked her to explain what they found in the basement, and Emma immediately started crying. Not like upset crying, but like caught in a lie, panicked crying. She admitted that Jake lost his apartment way back when they'd only been dating for like 3 months, but was too embarrassed to tell anyone. So she said he could store a few things in our basement temporarily, except temporarily turned into him basically moving in without anyone officially acknowledging it. We realized that Jake had been gradually storing things in our basement over many months, but had only recently started actually sleeping there regularly, which explains why he was still sometimes caught outside waiting for Emma when he was trying to keep up the pretense that he had his own place. Dad had already done the math, of course, and figured out that between utilities, food, and general wear on the house, Jake has probably cost us thousands of dollars. Dad had been tracking gradual increases in utilities for months, but thought they were just normal seasonal stuff. It wasn't until Jake started running the gaming setup, mini fridge, and basically living there full-time that the costs became obviously problematic, which explains why Dad only started making those comments about higher bills recently. He was keeping it together, but I could tell he was furious about his investment in our family being taken advantage of. But then things got so much worse. Mom mentioned that she'd been looking for her good jewelry to wear to the wedding this weekend and couldn't find several pieces she was sure she had. She'd been searching everywhere for days and was starting to think she was going crazy. Something about the way she said it made Dad suggest we search the basement more thoroughly. And under the stairs, hidden behind some old boxes, we found this shoebox full of pawn shop receipts. I think I actually said, "Oh my God," out loud when I realized what we were looking at. All these receipts for jewelry and small electronics and other stuff from around our house that had gone missing over the past year. Things we assumed were just misplaced or lost. This guy had been systematically stealing from us and selling our stuff while living in our basement, rent-free, eating our food, using our utilities. I don't think I've ever seen my dad that angry in my entire life. He wasn't yelling or anything, but he got this scary, quiet voice and just kept saying 2 years over and over, like he couldn't believe we'd been taken advantage of for that long. Emma was sobbing, saying she had no idea about the stealing and Jake never told her about the pawn shop stuff, which, maybe. But at that point, it didn't matter because the damage was done. Mom and Dad didn't even discuss it with Emma or give her a chance to fix anything. They just decided they were changing all the locks while she and Jake went on their weekend trip to visit his friends. I felt weird about it, but honestly, what were they supposed to do? This guy had been living in our house for almost 2 years, stealing from us, and costing us thousands while contributing absolutely nothing. So they called a locksmith Saturday morning and changed every lock in the house. Sunday night, around 11 p.m., my phone starts ringing, and it's Emma completely hysterical. She's screaming about how we ruined her life and made her homeless, and how could we do this without any warning? I tried to explain about the pawn shop receipts and the basement situation, but she just kept crying that we don't understand her relationship, and now she has nowhere to go. That's when she admitted she can't afford a security deposit anywhere because, surprise, she's been lying about having income from her teaching position. She lost that job months ago because she was terrible at classroom management and has basically no money. The whole thing was just lie after lie after lie. And Jake, oh, this is the best part. As soon as he realized Emma's family wasn't going to support him anymore, he immediately started crashing with various friends and basically told Emma this was all her fault for not standing up to her family against us. So now Emma has lost her housing, her boyfriend, her financial support, and her graduate program, all in one weekend. She's been staying at a motel, but can't afford that much longer. Mom has been crying on and off since Sunday night because she feels guilty about the locks, even though rationally she knows we had no choice. Dad is still doing calculations about how much money we lost, supporting someone who was actively stealing from us. And I keep thinking about how my helping with the key situation was actually making everything worse by preventing any real confrontation about boundaries. Like maybe if I hadn't enabled Jake's access to our house, we would have discovered all this stealing months ago. The aunt has apparently agreed to lend Emma money for a studio apartment deposit, but Emma has to drop out of her program officially and get any job she can find. Jake has completely ghosted her, and our cousin saw him at some party last weekend with his ex-girlfriend, so that relationship is definitely over. 2 years. Almost 2 years of this guy using our house as his personal hotel and pawn shop while Emma covered for him and lied to all of us about basically everything in her life. I don't even know how we're supposed to move forward as a family after this. Dad keeps talking about boundaries and accountability, but also seems completely lost about how we let this happen for so long. Mom found out yesterday that several of her friends had suspected something was off, but didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to interfere in family business, which is just great. Everyone could see we were being taken advantage of, except us. I'm honestly questioning everything about how I try to help people now. Like, was I actually being helpful this whole time, or was I just enabling people to avoid dealing with their real problems? Because looking back, every time I helped Emma or Jake, I was basically preventing them from facing consequences or having honest conversations. This whole situation has been such a mess, and I feel like our family might never recover from all the lies and financial damage. Dad says he's learned his lesson about supporting family members without clear expectations, but the damage is already done. I still can't believe someone could live in our house for almost 2 years while stealing from us, and none of us put the pieces together until it was way too late.